So when is the best time to start the violin? So if you're a parent and you want your child to start learning the violin, you have probably figured out that it's best to start them as soon as possible. This is a very correct way of thinking. However, when exactly you start your child in violin depends on your particular child. I'm Joel Kennedy, and I've taught a lot of beginning students. And one thing I can tell you for sure is that not all kids are the same. So if you're a parent and you're wondering when the best time is to start your child, there's a few things you should know. So let's talk about it. So if you've Googled this topic already, you've probably seen a lot of websites say 3 years old is a good age to start kids. Well, maybe you've looked at your 3-year-old and was like, I don't think so. And maybe your instincts are right. So the number one thing that you should be asking yourself is, what is their attention span? That's the number one thing. That's the number one question that you want to ask yourself in order to know if they're ready to start violin lessons or not. So a lot of kids will start, 3 to 7 years old. So there's a lot of range in there, And so most kids probably statistically start when they're 5 or 6 years old. But it really depends on your kid, and the earlier that you start them, the better. Okay, so how do you know if their attention span is long enough? Okay, so number one, can they sit still and concentrate on you or something else for 20 solid minutes? Now, it could be, there's a little bit of flub area around here, maybe 17 minutes or so, or 16, but you really want 20 minutes. Why? Well, most kids who start out with violin lessons will start out with half an hour lessons. So in a half an hour, they're not going to be focused on violin for 30 minutes. At most, maybe 20 minutes at a time. Because in a violin lesson, you go in there, it's hi, how's your day? You got to put the violin somewhere, find somewhere to sit, get the violin out. The teacher has to tune the violin, and then finally, X amount of time later, now the kid is ready to, actually concentrate, and they're sitting in front of some music maybe, and they're ready to practice, right? And then at the end of the lesson, more time is wasted with, see you later, bye-bye, maybe you'll summarize the lesson, so boom, your half an hour is gone. So as a general rule, yes, if you want to start with half an hour lessons, make sure that they can concentrate for at least 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes, kind of depends, and you're probably fine. Now, me personally, when I was teaching, I always had my students do a minimum of 45 minutes. Now, I'll tell you why. Because I wanted a good solid half an hour with the kid. And I also knew that a lot of kids would have a hard time focusing for 20 minutes at a time, some a little bit more, some a little bit less. So what I would do is, you have the lesson, and there's always, that wasted time with the setup, getting instrument, tuning, and all that other stuff. And then you teach the kid for maybe 15, 17 minutes, 20 minutes if you can, but then you take a little bit of a break, right? So you take a little bit of a break to talk to the parent, right? So maybe you'll summarize what you just taught. So you basically cut off your concentration from the kid, and then you just let the kid do whatever they want while you're talking to the parents for a few minutes. So maybe they're running around the room, maybe they're spinning and jumping, maybe they're chasing imaginary friends, who knows? But they're free to just kind of do what they want, and it adds some levity and some freedom in the lesson. It makes the lessons not so difficult and onerous for the kid, So you let them have that free time, and then zoom, you get them right back, and then you teach them for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And then at the end of the lesson, you take the last 5 or 7 minutes to summarize the lesson with the parent. So then you go over the, you should have like a practice log or a lesson log. I guess you call it a lesson log, right? So, you write in the date of the lesson, and then the teacher writes down what they did, how to practice it, and what they're expected to be, completed by the next lesson. This will all easily use up 45 minutes, and you've got a good solid 30, 35 minutes out of the students, so your lessons are going to be way more productive. So what if your child can't sit and concentrate for 20 minutes, right? But you really want them to get started on violin as early as possible, and maybe they're getting older, they're 5, 6, or getting close to 7, you're getting a little worried because you don't want to start them too late. Well, you can introduce the violin to them in, baby steps, right? So I would suggest getting like a toy violin somewhere, or maybe somebody has got like a busted up violin, that's properly sized, it's really small, chances of that are probably pretty slim. Or you could just buy a really cheap violin on Amazon, right? So a lot of times for 60 or 70 bucks or something, you can buy these cheap violins on Amazon. They're really just toys anyway. And what you can do is you can practice with the kid, 5 or 10 minutes at a time, just holding the violin, right? So get them used to the idea of holding the violin properly, where to put their left hand, or you can teach them to hold their violin here, right? And you can teach them to just kind of pluck the strings, right? And then teach them how to hold the bow properly. Get them used to the idea of holding it properly, having a bent thumb and a bent pinky. You can watch a lot of YouTube videos. You can watch my videos, of course. I have a lot of videos about this kind of stuff. And then once they're consistently holding it properly, then you can, have them, go up and down, just open strings on the violin. Maybe they're just holding it here. And just, because this kind of pre-wires their minds. So let's say they are 3 or 4, but you just don't want to start light lessons yet. Just get them holding the violin and get used to holding the violin here, running the bow this way, and this will set them up. So when you do start lessons, the lessons will be a lot more manageable and efficient, and you'll get your money's worth. So what if your child is way too young to start violin lessons, but you want to give them a head start? Okay, well, and I'm talking about like when they're a baby, right? There are things that you can do when they're a baby that'll actually give them a pretty big advantage, I think, when they get older. So, well, actually, before I tell you what I did personally, which I think worked out really well, I just want to plug an app, a practice app, really quickly. So if you are trying to learn the violin, let's say you're an absolute beginner, or you've actually can play, and you can play some tunes, some fiddle tunes or whatnot, but you want a way to organize your practice sessions and you want some input of whether you're doing something right or wrong, there's actually this practice app that I've been recommending to people these days. It's called TRALA. And it's really super cool, actually. You can play and it'll listen to you and it'll correct you. So it'll tell you if your pitch is out of tune. It'll tell you if you're playing the wrong pitch. It will help you with your rhythm. So it's super easy to use. I mean, I figured it out within a few minutes of just installing it on my iPhone. But it'll actually play a tune for you, a small segment, and then you play, and then it will listen and it'll correct you and give you the opportunity to practice. It's also got a built-in tuner. It tracks your progress. It's really, really slick. So anyways, I highly recommend it if you really want your practicing to take it to the next level. I really, really recommend this app. And there's actually a link in the description you might have noticed already where you get 60% off. So I contacted the developer and they were like, yeah, I'll give you a coupon. So they gave me a coupon for 60% off, which is, a huge chunk, right? So anyways, check it out. Okay, so going on to what I was mentioning before, if you want your child to start learning music or have a head start, here's a few things that I did that I think worked really well, because both of my daughters are musicians. One is a violinist and the other one is a pianist. Both of them have perfect pitch, meaning that they can hear a pitch and they know what pitch it is. Like you can hear it, they'll hear a pitch, la, and they'll say, oh, that's a B flat or whatever it is, right? If they're watching this video right now, they're probably like, that's not a B flat. But anyway, so they have really, really good ears. They're very, very acute hearing, and they're both, I think, pretty accomplished musicians in their own right. So it works, I think. But anyhow, so what I did is that I actually sang to them when they were in the womb, and I sang to them when they were infants. And I sang in a very, very specific and deliberate way. So what I would do is I would sing scales and arpeggios, because Western music is built of two kinds of distances between notes. You have, in a scale, you have half steps and whole steps. So you want to start pre-wiring their brain to hear music and to start structuring it as early as possible. That will give them, I think, a heads up once they do start music lessons, whatever the instrument is. So what I would do is I would sing like a simple scale and a simple arpeggio. So for example, I'd sing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. right? So it's very, very simple thing to do. Now, obviously, you got to be able to sing fairly in tune, to be able to do that. But anyways, I highly recommend that. So what I would do is I would sing those scales to them, as soon as they were born, like an hour after my second daughter was born. I have video of me actually singing scales and arpeggios to them, but I did it with both of them. But after they start to recognize the scale and they start to anticipate 5 or they anticipate 1, then you can add timing to it, right? So you add touch. So I would either touch them on the back or the shoulder, or I would bounce them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you change the timing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you'll notice after a while, when you pause at a certain pitch, they'll look at you and they'll wait. So you know that it's working, and they're listening, and you know that they're anticipating a certain pitch. And Western music is put together in such a way where you always have this anticipation and resolution of certain scale degrees. So that's a very, very easy way to start pre-wiring their brain as, in the womb. The other thing that you can do, of course, is to, play simple music around them, Mozart, Handel, whatever, and that helps a lot too. So guys, I hope that I answered some questions, and I hope I provided some more insight. Don't forget to subscribe, because I'm always making videos. And, if you have any questions or comments, just put them right below. I answer pretty much everything. You can DM me, message me, whatever. I'll probably get back to you. And don't forget, here at Kennedy Violins, we are players and teachers, so we're always happy to answer any questions you have anytime. See you later.